The president has so many bold ideas, from the possibility of acquiring Greenland, putting up this Iron Dome in America, taking back the Panama Canal, renaming the Gulf to the Gulf of America. Do you expect the U.S. to acquire Greenland?
I think it's possible, Maria. So here's the thing that I think a lot of folks don't appreciate about Greenland. It's really important to our national security. There are sea lanes there that the Chinese use, that the Russians use, that frankly, Denmark, which controls Greenland, it's not doing its job and it's not being a good ally. So you have to ask yourself, how are we going to solve that problem, solve our own national security? If that means that we need to take more territorial interest in Greenland, that is what President Trump is going to do, because he doesn't care about what the Europeans scream at us. He cares about putting the interests of America's citizens first. There's another angle to this whole Greenland thing, Maria, that people don't realize. You've got probably 55,000 people living on Greenland who are not actually happy with Danish government. They've got great natural resources there. They've got an incredibly bountiful country that the Danes aren't letting them develop and explore. Of course, Donald Trump would take a different approach if he was the leader of Greenland.
And the odds of the Panama Canal?
Well, look, Panama Canal, they violated the core tenet of the agreement. Remember, when we gave over, I think it was a mistake, but when we gave over the Panama Canal to the country of Panama, what we said is you have to make sure that this canal respects American sovereignty, and you don't give special benefits to the Chinese that you don't give to the United States of America. I think they failed to meet their end of the bargain, and we're very serious about making sure they do meet their end of the bargain.
You're one of the youngest vice presidents that we've ever seen in the history of our country. Are you expecting to run for president in 3.5 years?
You're the first person who's asked me that, and I'd say that we've not thought a lot about politics in the last 6 months. We thought about getting the American people's business done. We'll see what happens come 2028, but the way that I think about this is the best thing for my future is actually the best thing for the American people, which is that we do a really good job over the next 3.5 years. So we'll cross the political bridge when we come to it. I'm not thinking about running for president. I'm thinking about doing a good job for the American people. And I think the best way to do that is to make sure that President Trump is a success.
And how important is it to bring young people into the political conversation?
So huge, so important. And I think that's really one of the responsibilities that I take seriously. I've got a 7-year-old, an almost 5-year-old, and a 3-year-old kid at home. I do think I view America's political problems from the perspective of a young father, because that's exactly what I am. So I definitely try to bring that perspective into the Oval Office and meetings on Capitol Hill. That's an important role for me to play, and I'll keep on playing that.
And I love that. You're a family man. And one of the first executive orders that President Trump signed in was school choice. Yes. And so we talk about education. Do you have a vision there in terms of how things should look for your children as they grow up? You're talking about killing or shutting down the education department to save costs. So what does the education look like?
Well, I think we could save costs and actually give American children a better education. We spend way more per pupil on American education than almost any country in the world, and we've gotten worse and worse outcomes. I think the president's exactly right that if you give parents more choice and more capacity to choose what's in the best interest of their kids, then we're going to make education better for all American children. It's really weird to me, actually, that so many politicians, they send their kids to private schools, but then they want to deny that opportunity to the families of poor children or middle-class children. My attitude is anything that's good enough for my kids, I want to give all Americans those opportunities, and that's exactly what the president's school choice policy aims to do.
Mr. VP, are you going to Ohio on Monday? Can you tell us about your trip? You're going to be with Lee Zeldin?
Yeah, the plan is, so Lee Zeldin, our great new EPA administrator, and just a dear friend. I really love Lee, so we'll have a good time. But we're actually going to go and visit the East Palestine train derailment. It matters a lot to me personally because my first month as a United States Senator, you had this terrible train disaster. I'll be going back a couple years later as the Vice President of the United States, and really just to check in on how the cleanup is going. The big question that I had as a senator is people always ask, is the water clean to drink? Is the air clean to breathe? And luckily, we now have a great EPA administrator who I think can answer those questions and fix the problems on the ground. We're just going to go do a little fact-finding, talk to people, and see what's happening.
That was incredible. When you put the stick in the water, when you were a senator, and you showed us exactly what had occurred, I was grateful that you did that. Thank you for that, and telling the country really what had taken place. Look, I know it's only been 11 days, 12, 13 days as you as Vice President, but can you give us some observations? What's it like? How are you doing?
Look, I'm doing great. It's the coolest job I've ever had, and it's an honor to serve. It's hard not to pinch yourself when you walk into the Oval Office. I was raised by a woman who didn't graduate from high school, much less from college, and here I am going to the Oval Office with the President of the United States. My kids are really happy that the family has adjusted to this very well. And look, I'm learning a lot, actually, about the president's leadership, about the way that he takes input and opinions from many different people. It's making me, I think, a better leader myself. And it's just something that I try to remind myself, it's a blessing to have this job. I got to do as good of a job by the American people as I possibly can.